Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. What you're seeing in front of you is hell on earth somehow working. Um, Today I worked on running my own Windows GitLab runner, and let me tell you, getting it to work with monogame was the most colossal pain in the ass ever, and I'm going to show you why. Alright, so first things first, I don't run Windows. I refuse to run Windows. So that's out of the way. But in order for me to build Windows versions of the game, unfortunately, due to a limitation with how the game compiles, MS build, I need Windows to build the game on Windows. And so what I did initially is I tried to do it with Wine. Alright? And doing it with Wine is pretty straightforward, you know, at face value. You go to your game source code. So for me, that'll be projects, alkaline thunder, socially distant. There we go. I have a lot of things in there starting with SOC. Okay. So inside of Wine, or inside of the game repo, you install Wine, and then you run the script in the root of the repository, mfxc wine setup.sh. You need to do this even if you're building on Linux specifically, because what it's going to do is it's going to set up a wine prefix for you, and it's going to download .NET Core 8, or .NET 8. It's going to download .NET Core 3.1, you need both, and it's going to download Firefox so that you can get one random DLL needed to compile direct 3D shaders. Because you need to be able to do that even on Linux. And unfortunately, yes, you need Wine to do that. That's been a common, well-known thing in monogame for over half a decade. And so there's a script in the game's repo to do that for you. Once you do that, it's good to go. You now have a Wine prefix with all the stuff you need to build the game. Awesome. So you'd think that it would be as simple as going into the script, grabbing the wine prefix variable and stuff like that. So, you know, you grab your wine prefix environment variable and your, I'm looking for it. I scrolled right by it. It's going to be right here, these two variables here, wine prefix and wine arc. You grab those, you paste them in, just in case, and then you do wine64.net build src. What that should do is it should build the game for Windows under Wine using the .NET tools that have been installed in the Wine prefix. But as you can see, there's a bunch of red going on. Now this was last night. All of this red, those are all SSL errors. Every single one of them is an SSL error because it's trying to grab NuGet packages. So, and there's a lot of fucking red, right? You know, you don't even need to be zoomed in. There's just a lot of red and a lot of yellow. The yellow are C# warnings, whatever. The red is all SSL errors. So, you know, not great. I can't do this with Wine, and the reason is that for whatever reason, there's some, like, disagreement between Wine and the host operating system, and on how it deals with SSL, and I cannot validate NuGet packages under Wine. That's the problem. Now, let me show you what happens if I try to build the game for Windows. So we'll go cd src, and then without Wine, we'll do .NET build, and to build specifically for Windows, you do -r winx64, and that'll build it for Windows. Now it's going to go ahead and restore NuGet packages, and that's all going to work fine. But then you're going to run into another issue. It's going to say, hey, you do not have an SDK for Windows. Or no, what is it? Building... No, build... Okay, this is my mistake. It's... You actually have to specify the project in this case. So, .NET build socially distant. Sorry, that was me reading an error without actually reading it. Usually it's a skill of mine, sometimes it just fails on me. But anyway, now it's going to build the game, but eventually, you're going to... Oh, that just worked. Okay, that's great that it worked. But let's try and become a GitLab runner user. So sudo-u GitLab runner bin /bash. Alright, so now we're GitLab runner, which this is like real. This computer is a GitLab runner for Linux on my GitLab server. Cool. Awesome. We'll go to its home directory, which is, you know, the GitLab runner directory. And let's clone socially distant. Let's pretend to be a GitLab runner. So git clone https gitlab.acidiclight.dev /socially distant /socially distant. And it's going to clone the game's repo into the home directory. You know, not in the exact same spot, but there you go. Socially distant. We go in there. We go src. Actually, first we run that mpfxc setup script to create the wine prefix. Okay, yes, I want to overwrite everything. It's installing .NET. Or ever, downloading .NET. Okay. It's downloading Firefox now. And awesome, we now have the wine prefix. Cool. So cdsrc .NET build socially distant -r win x64. So now it's going to pull in NuGet packages. And we've gotten errors. Because for whatever reason, when you're the user GitLab runner, what is the error this time? Oh. Okay, so this is another problem. We don't have, yeah, I remember what I needed to do for this stupid thing to get it to fix itself. I needed to set some stupid .NET environment variable. So, you know, we exit out of GitLab runner, and we cat profile, there should be... Okay, that's a bug. That's a lot of mpfxc paths. Okay, it's not profile. It's gonna be -rc. Alright. So mpfxc, okay. Alright, so .NET global whatever invariant culture, okay. Sudo-u GitLab runner /bin/bash nano bash rc. I can't write to it. Why? What did I screw up? Oh, right. I didn't move to the home directory. Okay. Nano bash rc. There we go. Okay. Alright, that's the stupid .NET thing, so I'll run it again. .NET build socially distant -r WinX64. Okay. All right. For whatever reason, it can't find the wine prefix. Now, mkfxc wine path equals /var /lib /GitLab runner /.wine minor game. That's all there. I've installed .NET Core 3. Created the wine prefix. And mkfxc wine path should be set. Several times. Okay, that's weird. Alright, so it didn't get set. That was weird. I don't know why running bash didn't execute that. Okay, so let's try it again. It seems to be doing its thing now. So it's compiling shaders. Cool, great. Now we're compiling source code. And 0 errors. So build, fine. Cool. Alright. Publish. .NET publish. Publish src socially distant. Actually, mkdir bin. That'll become clear in a moment. -r win x64 -c release self-contained -o bin /windows x64. Okay, so build works fine. Let's try publishing. This time we run into the problem that I've been having with the GitLab runner building on Linux. See, what the game tries to do during build, and I'm not going to read any of this because I still look at all the yellow and all the red. What it tries to do is it tries to compile and process Markdown and SDSH scripts, and doing so requires running some custom MS build tasks that I wrote. And doing that requires running .NET and loading socially distant.framework.dll into .NET and executing those tasks. The problem is, we are on Linux right now. The MS build that we're using is Linux, and the socially distant.framework.dll, because we're publishing self-contained, got compiled for Windows. And thus is a Windows binary and will not run. Because Linux has no idea what to do with it, and the Linux version of .NET has no idea what to do with it, and it's just, it doesn't work. Alright? And I spent hours trying to work around this. I just couldn't. So I could not use Wine. So, fast forward today, before the live stream from today. I'm glad a lot of you came. But I set up a Windows 11 virtual machine because I needed to, and I set it up on the same server as GitLab because I don't want to run Windows on this system. I just want Windows to be a way where I don't have to worry about it. But there it is. I'm connected to the hypervisor over SSH, which you can do with virt manager and libvirt. It's cool. But look at the CPU graph. I'm not logged into the system. I'm not doing anything with the system. All that I'm doing is running that GitLab runner And there's fluctuation in resource usage. I can see it. And even then, it's using about, I'd say, a quarter of its allocated resources. Maybe a tenth. Alright? And if I double click, it's gonna shoot me into a login screen. So there's Windows 11. I hate it. But, you know, there it is. And if I look at the hardware of this VM, so first thing to look at is the memory. It's 4096 megabytes, or maybe bytes, whatever you want to call it. That's 4 gigs of RAM. Alright. And CPU topology I have set to 1 socket, because pretty much all desktop systems are set up like that. 2 cores, 1 thread. Because I know the topology of the CPU running that hypervisor. It is an old AMD A10-7700K APU from like 2014. It's a bulldozer architecture. It is worse than the PlayStation 4's APU, and it only has 4 cores with no SMT, because I don't think SMT really existed on the AMD platform back then. But either way, there's 4 cores. That's it. That's all. Okay? And I have a Linux system running on here with GitLab and Nextcloud on it. I would like to have a CPU for those to run on, so I only dedicated enough for Windows to run. Which, with Windows 11, for some stupid reason, you have to have 4 gigs of RAM and 2 cores, or it won't let you install at all. That is not a blue screen, it's just that for some reason magnifier opened. That's how you fix that. Or that's how you don't fix that. Windows, please. Alright, there we go. So, it's because I have a key, a hotkey conflict between Linux and Windows. Okay, this is why I hate using Windows. Alright, so we'll log in as Richie, and we'll look at what I had to do to get this all working. So, log in. Already, I'm feeling like I'm at school on an ancient school computer on a domain network. That's how long this is taking to log in. Anyway, we're at a desktop, and okay, first big little issue, or little big issue. This is the English International version of Windows, because, you know, I'm working with limited resources. I don't want Copilot or any of that crap, and I don't want Microsoft accounts. And I was able to gut everything out of the apps section of settings. So if I... Oh, it's not apps. Where is apps? Apps is there. And then installed apps. You know, there's basically nothing. We have Git. We have IIS because Visual Studio. We have a bunch of .NET SDKs and runtimes. There's Microsoft Edge because you're forced to. There's a bunch of Azure stuff. And then, yeah. So what you don't see are things like calendar, calculator. Yeah, I didn't even let you have calculator on this system. Like, fuck off. But it's all SDK stuff on here. There's not even weather. You don't even get Notepad because Nano's installed. So I was able to remove all that. The problem is, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I have no idea why, I have Firefox installed and I have Edge installed, but if I go to Edge and do a search, no, test, go to test, okay? Bing is the default search. Oh, there are actual search results. Okay, this is weird. What if I do GitLab runner Windows? Oh, now it's pulling search results. No, it's not. Okay, Bing is weird. It did not search for GitLab runner Windows. It decided, no, there's no results found. So, you know, Edge is a lost cause. Because Bing. But, you know, I have Firefox on here. So that was the first thing that I was running into, is I could not search anything. For some reason. Go away, dialog box that's on the other monitor. Alright, Google works perfectly fine. GitLab runner Windows. And you get dark mode. And you get taken to this page. Install GitLab runner for Windows. That's what you need. And under GitLab docs, it says, okay, you go download the exe cookie. I don't care. Your GitLab. Go away. I'm trying to read. Anyway, yeah, so you download it, you put it in a spot, and then what you're supposed to do, and the recommended thing to do, is to run it as a system service, and obviously you do want that. It's what I do on Linux as well. It's that the GitLab runner can respond to jobs without you being physically at the computer to tell it to. So, you know, it's a background job. Awesome. So you do, you go into the GitLab runner directory where you've put it, and you do it as admin, and so, you know, I've put it in that same spot. So, cd backslash GitLab runner, and then GitLab runner. You would do install, and then you would do start, and then it would connect to GitLab after you register it with your GitLab service. Cool. Or GitLab server. And it worked. It registered, bada bing, bada boom, I had a Windows runner in my runner pool. Awesome. I could tag a job for Windows and it would run on the Windows runner. Awesome. Except for the fact that the game's running in monogame. Because, well, right now, if I do a who am I, we are running as GitLab Win11 VM / Richie. Because I'm Richie. Alright, cool. Awesome. Now, the problem is, the GitLab runner, the way it's set up, if we go into services.msc, which I'm aware I could have done from the command prompt, and we scroll down until we find GitLab runner, because it will be listed in here. Wonder how much of this that I could get rid of and make the system more lean. Anyway, GitLab runner. If we go to the logon tab, right now it is set to, now this was troubleshooting, I can turn that off. The enable access to the desktop thing. Cool. It is set to run as the local system user, which, if you're not aware of how Windows works, that is root. Specifically, NTAUTHORITY SYSTEM. Which, if you are a Windows user, you know exactly what that means, and why this might be a problem. Okay, so let's close out of a bunch of stuff, because this VM is lacking resources. Alright, cool. I was having this weird issue where, well, how will I show it? Upcord. Okay, we'll go to monogame, and I was documenting this whole thing. I got, the first problem that I had was pretty annoying. I was getting DLL not found exceptions, but, you know, it was simple. You just install the right VC Redists, and it's good to go. So that's great. Solved. I got that to work. Except one crash. Okay, so we look at this, and we see, first thing we see is null reference exception. On line 230, in the monogame sprite font description processor.cs. Line 230, we'll remember that. Okay, but at the top, you can see that it's processing fallback.sprite font, which is the fallback sprite font that Socially Distant will use if it cannot load a font. And it's saying that this had a null reference exception. And I'm looking, and I'm thinking, well, I've installed all the libraries I need, so it should be fine, right? And so I do a build on the VM. One moment while I zoom in. And, well, okay, so right now we are Richie. Oh, whoops. Okay, zoom out of Windows. There we go. And then close out of that admin thing. Okay, so if I go into socially distant and do .NET build src, it's gonna be slower because of how the VM is compared to my badass Linux system. But it's gonna restore packages, it's gonna do its compilation. And yes, this is an elevated command prompt, but we're still running as Richie. This Windows is weird. You can be admin and not admin at the same time. Anyway. Give it time. There's all the warnings from my code. Don't worry, I will fix them eventually. Just, Okay. Build succeeded. Hundreds of warnings, 0 errors. So, that was weird. The runner was failing the build, but as a desktop user in the VM, I can build it. Weird. Well, remember, the runner's running as NTAUTHORITY, and I'm running as Richie. I am not NTAUTHORITY, and NTAUTHORITY is not Richie. So, then I started looking in the code. Let's look at line 230 of that file on monogame. Okay, so we can go... I need Chrome. That's what I need. Okay, so it should be here, I think. No, that's the Google search. I was trying to bypass some Windows stuff. Because reasons. Alright, so, line 230 of this file is return glyphs.toArray, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, well, what? They didn't initiate the glyphs variable, and that's null, because, that's what a null reference is. It's when you don't initialize a reference, and it's null. But, we accessed glyphs a whole bunch more times, and right here we create it, so obviously it's impossible for that to be the null reference, and then I remember we're on an older build of monogame because of a bug in a newer build that we don't want to deal with, and so I think to myself, okay, maybe they've changed this file since, and the stack trace is unreliable. And in fact, it is because the stack trace says that we're looking for find fonts, not this method, which is decidedly, if we scroll up even further, it is not find font. It is import font. But if we scroll down, eventually we'll find, right below it, find fonts. It's not too far down. And it takes in a string name, string style, just like the stack trace said, as I remember. But if you look, first of all, it figures out what platform we're on. And if we're on Windows, which we will be in the runner, what we do is we look in the fonts directory. So, common directory for fonts, back in the old days. Still the directory now. But then we do a registry lookup. So we create a new registry key, registry.local machine and registry.current user. That'll become important very soon. So local machine and current user. We find the subkey, or rather open the subkey, software/Microsoft/Windows NT/current version/fonts. Don't ask me what the false means. But anyway, we open that up, and then we immediately iterate through it by getting its values. The problem is, the return value of open subkey is nullable. And they're not doing a null check. Now, this would be completely fine in almost every situation because every Windows user is going to have a fonts registry. Right? Right? what about NT-authority? Because, you know, you're not supposed to run a desktop as NT-authority. There's ways you can, but you're not supposed to. And it's not... It might not have a fonts registry, because why would it? Why would NT-authority or system be installing fonts for itself as a user font? It can just install it to the system, because it's the system. So, there are probably better ways to check to see, or to check NT-authority's registry, right? Oh my god. Why did these hotkeys have to be the same? Okay, but, here's what I had to do. I did it again. Okay. So, you go regedit, and we're gonna look for that key. So we'll run as admin, cool, good to go. And, you know, I've already looked at it on this user account, but, you know, there's your Windows NT, but just to make sure, we have HKey current user, and we are Registry right now, so we're gonna software, Microsoft. Excuse me, I'm having a hiccup. We're looking for Windows NT. I missed it. Where did it go? Windows NT. And then in here, there should be a fonts registry. And there is. It's empty. But there's a fonts registry, because I'm a desktop user on this workstation. Okay, cool. That's Registry figured out. That's why I'm able to build. I have that key. If I do local machine, because this is supposed to represent the registry for the entire system and all users, we go software, Microsoft. There's a lot of shit in here. Windows kits, no, Windows NT, current version. And there is, or should be, a bunch of fonts stuff, but would you look at that? HK local machine, in the same spot, has a fonts registry. And this is the system fonts registry. There are keys in here. These are all your system fonts that come with Windows. Cool. Awesome. But what about NT-authority? Well, I'll be honest, I don't know where to find him in the registry, but what I do know, well, we've all gone to high school and had to circumvent a school computer's security once in a while, and there used to be a vulnerability in Windows that let you do that if you were able to get into startup repair, which was fairly easy to do in Windows 7, pre-SP1, where if you're able to get into an environment where you have admin access to the system and can write to system32, what you can do, and now if you are a school child watching this video, or you're at a workplace, please don't do this. It's not good. Your IT guy will find you, and he might murder you. But anyway, we're on a desktop system that I own, so, you know, we'll hack into it. You go to system32, and what you do is you make a backup of sethc.exe, and it's gonna... I don't know what happened there. Okay, I did, do this earlier. That is weird. I don't know where sethc.exe went. That is strange. Okay, but normally there is a sethc.exe there, and that is your accessibility settings UI from old Windows. It's what comes up when you press Shift 5 times. You know, you get this dialog box. Alright, that's sethc.exe. That's what it does. So the idea is, if you're able to overwrite that with cmd.exe, okay, this time it didn't work. That is weird. Where is it getting sethc from? Oh, you know what it is? I'm in system, not system 32. Okay, my bad. I am blind. Anyway, cp, so copy sethc.exe, sethc.exe.old, and this will only work because I have git installed. Because cp is a Linux command, not a Windows command, but on Windows it would be copy. Alright, so you make a backup of that, and then you copy cmd.exe over sethc.exe, and this Windows system is now compromised, because if I press Shift 5 times, a command prompt is going to pop up. So, you know, great, but that command prompt is still running under the context of the logged in user, so what you do is you log out, and now you're in a secure desktop context, and you're running a system, and secure desktop is ironic, because if I press the Shift key 5 times, command prompt comes up, and I can do regedit, and, well, now we are viewing the registry of NTAUTHORITY. Because if I go back to the command line and I do a who am I, we are NTAUTHORITY/system. Alright, now, here's what I had to do. All I had to do is drop into that Windows NT key, current version, and create a fonts folder here. That's what fixed it. Because this was not there before. You can do this on your own system and check and see if that specific fonts folder is in your NTAUTHORITY registry under HT current user. It's probably not going to be there for some stupid reason, and that breaks monogame under a very specific situation where you are a GitLab runner building the game, or building a monogame game, running as a Windows service as the local system user. Because sprite fonts don't do a null check when reading the registry. That was the most annoying thing I've ever troubleshooted, and now I have to lock this virtual machine down before someone exploits it inevitably, so I'm gonna do that. And to be clear, don't ever do that on a system that you don't own. Or even on a system you do own that has direct access to the internet. If you get something that can emulate the keyboard and press that key 5 times, you're fucked. Alright, so, I'm gonna need to run as admin. Alright, we're in system 32. So, move, or whatever, sethc.exe.old, sethc.exe, and now we are secure. I cannot bypass user authentication in Windows and do a priv-esc during login. Alright, so, cool. I can't believe I had to priv-esc my VM just to fix monogame, but it is what it is, and now I have a GitLab runner running Windows 11, building socially distant from source, whenever I commit to master, making sure that there is a Windows build of the game available for people to playtest. That's the story of how I did it, and the frustration and hell and privilege escalation involved in doing so. And as always, I'm Michael, even though everyone calls me Richie. I hope you learned something. Don't do that on a production system. If you enjoy what I do and want to support me, there's a Patreon link in the description below. I swear to God I will need booze after troubleshooting that one. Or maybe a bunch of Pepsi, but either way. With that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Holy fuck, I hate Windows.